This is the top model in this year's Redmi Note series, the Xiaomi Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus. It brings some upgrades over the others, but is that worth the higher price? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus review. Xiaomi has packed a lot of nice features into its Redmi Note Pro models this year, features that used to be exclusive to the top-tier Pro Plus. These include a fancy curved display, a 200-megapixel main camera, and protection against water submersion. Still, the Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus does stand out from the pack with this more powerful chipset, 120-watt fast charging, and a new selfie camera. Design-wise though, this year's Redmi Notes are largely the same. You get a rounded-off square camera bump, and a back made of either glass or vegan leather, like on our unit. Both the back and front curve into a thin aluminum frame. But even being so thin, Xiaomi claims that the phone is extra durable when it comes to drop resistance. And like I mentioned, the Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus has IP68 rated ingress protection against dust and submersion in water, and you can even use the screen with wet fingers. The display of the Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus is a curved 6.67-inch OLED with a 1220p resolution and a 120Hz refresh rate. The screen glass is Gorilla Glass Victus 2, and on the back you get Gorilla Glass 7i, unless you go for the vegan leather model, of course. The display performs great. It's sharp and contrasty, and the bezels are nice and thin. There are also nice features like 12-bit color depth and support for HDR10+ video and Dolby Vision video. As far as max brightness goes, we measured up to nearly 500 nits with the manual slider, which can boost up to around 1200 nits in auto mode. That's not the brightest around these days, but still plenty for comfy outdoor use. And this display's 120Hz refresh rate smooths out movements on screen, and it can drop down to 60Hz while the screen is idling. For audio, the Pro Plus has a pair of stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos support. They earned a loudness score of good, and the sound is nice, with clear vocals and mids, and decent bass.
I'm wide awake, but you're a nightmare. I can't escape, I'm seeing you everywhere.
You can wake up and unlock the Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus with an optical under-display fingerprint sensor. It's fast and reliable, though we wish it was located a bit higher up on the device. The Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus has an IR blaster, which you can use to control other appliances with. The phone comes with 256 or 512 gigs of storage on board, and that's not expandable through microSD. And at the time of review, the interface of the Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus is Xiaomi's HyperOS 1.04, running on top of Android 14. It's not the company's latest UI, and an update to HyperOS 2 should come soon. Xiaomi has preserved a similar look and feel for their software interface for a few generations now, so if you've used a Xiaomi or Poco phone recently, you should feel right at home. Circle to Search and Google Gemini are both available here. These features are basically built into Android at this point. HyperOS also supports AI functions in Notes, such as changing the layout on the fly. There are AI-based editing tools within the gallery as well, and Xiaomi says it will deliver even more tools via a future software update. Speaking of updates, Xiaomi hasn't promised a specific number for the global model, but we guess the same policy applies as the Indian model, at least 3 major OS updates and 4 years of security patches. Unlike the other Redmi Note Pro models, which use MediaTek chipsets, the Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus uses a Qualcomm one, a Snapdragon 7S Gen 3. In benchmarks, the phone posted good numbers for the class, and CPU performance has jumped quite a bit. But there's just a lot of solid competition at this price point. Even last year's Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus puts up a good fight in overall performance with its faster UFS 3.0 storage. When it comes to thermal management, the Pro Plus passed our prolonged stress test with flying colors. There was hardly any throttling to speak of. The global model of the Note 14 Pro Plus has a 5110 mAh battery. It's a small bump in capacity from last year, and it's a high-density battery that should do much better in the cold. Even so, the battery life here is equally as unimpressive as last year's model. The Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus earned an active use score of just 10 hours and 40 minutes, with weak web browsing and video playback scores. At least there's support for fast charging, rated at 120 watts, and the charger comes in the box. With it, we were able to charge the phone from 0 to 75% in 15 minutes, and a full charge took just 21 minutes. You could argue that this helps make up for the lackluster battery life. Now we've made it to the cameras. The rear setup is the same as last year's model, with a 200 megapixel main cam, an 8 megapixel ultra-wide cam, and a 2 megapixel macro camera. The main camera's default 12.5 megapixel photos have good sharpness and detail, and colors look accurate too. However, dynamic range doesn't look to be as wide as we would expect, and you would often end up with clipped highlights or shadows that are too dark. And if you look closely enough, you might spot some over-sharpening halos. Shots of people are only mid-range quality as well. The dedicated portrait mode delivers some solid results, but overall we're not very pleased with the skin rendition. 2x zoom is done digitally, and the sharpness and detail are less, especially in darker areas. Still, the results are decent. In low light, the main camera's output is excellent with the automatic night mode kicking in. The photos are generally clean, sharp, and decently detailed. The ultra-wide camera's daylight photos are just okay. The photos are soft and lacking in fine detail and color. The dynamic range is narrow too. Come nighttime, the ultra-wide camera remains unremarkable. The photos are soft and with poor contrast. At least the color saturation is fine, and the dynamic range is good. The Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus features a new 20 megapixel front-facing camera, but much like on the Poco X7 Pro, the selfies are underwhelming. The detail is poor and the images are soft. Worse, it also appears that the focus is behind where the subject would usually be, which makes for somewhat blurry mugshots. The Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus supports 4K video recording at 30 FPS with its main camera, and the ultra-wide and the selfie cam are limited to 1080p. The main cam's daylight 4K videos are pretty solid. There's a wide dynamic range, decent sharpness, adequate contrast, and lively colors. The camera can keep up even at 2x zoom. The same cannot be said about the ultra-wide's footage. It's soft, with washed out colors and narrow dynamic range. The low light footage from the main cam is impressive, considering the device's price range. The video is rather sharp and mostly clean of noise. And when recording videos, electronic stabilization is always on, and it does a good job. So there you have it folks, the global version of the Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus. There are quite a few things to like here, like the extra durable build, a very nice screen, solid performance with awesome thermal stability, great video recording, and very fast charging. However, 90% of the important features are the same as last year's model, and there are phones in this price range that can offer you an even better chipset and longer battery life. It seems the Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus is not positioned very competitively at the moment, but it still has a chance of success with more aggressive pricing. Until that happens, there are better deals out there. Thanks for watching guys. One nice alternative from Xiaomi itself is the Poco X7 Pro. And another option is the Motorola Edge 50 Pro. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.